maybe more mature, we have more difficulty with the Yomim Noiroim. That should, days of awe, that should be awe-inspiring, but are we really inspired? We feel kind of, we've been here and done this, and we don't really feel that we made much of a change. So, the first thing is that we have to encourage ourselves to believe in the Kedushas Hayomim. V'hoyo emunas itecha choisen Yeshuos. The Gemara says, itecha is Seder Moed. And the Pasuk says in Yeshaya, v'hoyo emunas itecha choisen Yeshuos, that the faith of your times will be the strength of your salvations. Meaning that the emunah that we have in the Ace is in itself what brings about the results. If we have no expectations of ourselves, obviously we invest less and we produce less, right? So it's a self-fulfilling nightmare. We have to convince ourselves that it's doable. That Adam Arishan by the Chetei Tzadas, he says, Hinos nalimena eitz v'oichal. Chazal say, Ochalti v'oichaloid. I ate and I'll eat more. Sounds like a rebellious statement, but Reb Tzadok says that it wasn't rebellious at all. He said this in despair. Adam Arishan, after he was fighting with the Chetei Tzadas, he felt that he's a lost case. I ate and I can't get rid of that. I will continue doing it. Ochalti v'oichal oid. So that's really important, that we convince ourselves that we can change. And tshuva is not really about change. It's about undoing change. Because tshuva is about return. Return means that we're actually going back to who and what we really are, to what we were. And we could undo all the changes. We could undo all the changes. We begin the Slichos on a kind of, I would say, a pessimistic note. We say, L'cha Hashem Azdaka v'lanu boishes haponim, man is oinei, uman noimar, man nitaber, uman nitztalek. We have nothing to say. Loi b'chesed v'loi b'masim b'nu u'fanach, v'gidal m'karoshim b'fachnu v'losecha. So, sounds pretty hopeless. But we turn the page and we say, Ki al rachamecha harabim onu betuchim, v'al tzidkoisecha onu nishonim, v'lislichoisecha onu mekavim, u'lishuos chanu mitzapim. We're anticipating a Yeshua. We're awaiting a slicha. And that's because Atahu melech oihev tzedokos mikedem ma'avir avoynos amoy u'meisir chatois yireov koreis bris lo rishonim, that's the bris ovis, u'mekayim shvuah la'achroim ato shiyoradet abanan kvoidecha al har Sinai v'reiso darkei tuvcha l'moishe avdecha v'orchois chasodecha gilisa loi v'hoida'ato ki ato kel rachum v'chan no'ech apayim v'rav chesed u'mar b'laheter. So, you see, this is the Hagdama to the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim, and the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim is really the core, the main focus of the Slichos. We'll be saying the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim many times during the Yemei HaSlichos until Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur. So it's kedai to be mizboinei in the meaning of the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim. It all comes from the Gemara, says in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Zayin Amid Beis, Vayavar Hashem al Ponov, Vayikra Amar Reb Yochanan, Ilamolei Mikra Kosuv Ef Shelo Imra. If the pasuk wouldn't spell it out, we couldn't say something like this. Kaviyachol Nis'atev HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kashatz. V'hera lo Moshe Seder Tefillah. Amalei Kol Zman Yisrael Choytim Lefonai. Yasu lefonai kaseder azev ani moichaloi. So Sounds very simple. Whenever Eden will be chayte, Yasu lefonai kaseder hazeh, which is the seder tefillah l'chayre of the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, v'ani moichel lahem. But we know that in the Eitz Yosef on the Eden Yankiv, he brings from the Alshich, it appears twice in the Alshich, that says, V'shamati b'shem livnas hasapir, shal kein loy omru, imru lefonai kaseder hazeh, ela yasu lefonai, shekiven loy mar, loy ba'amira ba'al metalya, ela ba'asir, ki oisan midoy shezoichrim chanun v'rachum, v'chulei ta'asu oisan, ba'al yidei kein lo yoshuvu reikom. In other words, that it's not just about talking the talk, it's not just about saying the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. I mean, people yell as if they're yelling as their Rebbeinu Shalom. But really we're yelling at ourselves. In other words, and not dafka yelling, but we're reminding ourselves that we were created b'tzelem Elokim, have these attributes of mercy, and Yasu lefonai kaseder hazeh. The pshat is that we can become compassionate, we can become Rav Chesed, we can become Erech Apayim, because that's really who we are. Because as Chazal say, that Mahu Nikro Rachum Af Ato Heyei Rachum. Now, Hashem wouldn't have that expectation of us if we didn't have it within us. The pshat is that we were created in a way that we have the capacity to be Rachum V'chanun Erech Apayim Rav Chesed, and we can find within the Ato, we can find the Hu, and we could become that. And the Yasu Lefonai Kaseder Hazeh is about becoming the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. Now, becoming the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, that's the key to the Slichos. The Chayre, we know that Tshuva is what brings the Slichos. And here we say that it's Yasu Lefonai Kaseder Hazeh, so it would seem that the Yasu Lefonai Kaseder Hazeh, the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, and Tshuva are really two sides of the same coin, are really one and the same thing, as we will explain. The chiyuv of emulating the divine attributes, is a mitzvah saseh according to Kama Moine HaMitzvahs. The Rambam says in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, mitzvah saseh, ches v'amitzvah hashminis hi shetzivonu l'hidomois boyis ale l'fi echolteinu v'hu amoroi, in this week's parasha, v'halachto b'drochav ukvar kofal tzivui zeh v'amar l'leches b'chol drochav, the pasuk in Parashas Eikev, u'bo b'pirush zeh Chazal say, Ma HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nikro Rachum, Afato Heyei Rachum. Ma HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nikro Chanun, Afato Heyei Chanun. V'chulei, v'zeh lo shein sifri Parshas Eikev. U'kvar nichbal hatzivui hazeh v'loshon acher, v'omar, Achrei Hashem Elokeichem teilechu, u'bo b'pirush gam kein. The Gemara says in Soite, she'yonei li'domois b'pulos ha'toivos v'amidas ha'chashuvos she'yitur bohen hokel yisale al tzad ha'moshul. Now, this pasuk on which the Rambam says that it's the mitzvah hashminis of l'hidomois b'yisala, which pasuk does he bring? The pasuk in this week's parsha, which is Yikimcha Hashem loy la'am kodesh, kasher nishba l'cho, he will establish you to him as the am kodesh, kasher nishba l'cho, ki sishmor es mitzvahs Hashem Elokecha v'halachta b'drochav. So according to the Pshutei Shel Mikra, this pasuk is not mechadish, a new mitzvah. The Shmiras HaMitzvahs and the Halicha B'drochav are mentioned here only as a t'nai for the Kabbalas HaBrachos. Yikimcha Hashem lo l'am kodesh kasher nishba l'cho, when ki sishmor es mitzvah Hashem Elokecha v'halachta b'drochav. So it's not clear why the Rambam learns that v'halachta b'drochav is a mitzvah saseh, and it has no source in Gemara or in Midrashi Chazal to read this pasuk as a mitzvah. But it's even more surprising because the Rambam immediately brings the Sifri that learns this chiyuv from the pasuk of Lo Leches B'chol Drochav in Parashas Eikev. He brings the Gemara in Soite that learns it from Achrei Hashem Elokeichem Teilechu. So why did the Rambam put the mitzvah into the pasuk of Halachta B'Drochav, which doesn't seem to be a pasuk that's telling us a mitzvah, and omits the other two sources? I mean, he doesn't omit, but he brings them b'derech agav. Yeah, that it's kvar nichbal in Lo Leches B'Chol Drochav, and in Achrei Hashem Elokeichem Teilechu. And the emes is another problem, because even if Halicha B'Drochav is a chiyuv from any pasuk that we learn it, the Rambam L'chorah should not have counted it in the Minyan HaMitzvahs based on what the Rambam says in the Shoresh Revi, she'ein roi limnois hatzivuyim hakoilo limatorah kulo. Hine, yovoyu b'torah tzivuyim v'ashoris einon b'dovar romuz. They're not on something particular. Aval yichlalu ha-mitzvahs kulam, ki'ilu yoy ma'asei kol ma she'tzivi sicha la'asois, v'hizorem mikol ma she'harticha mimenu. And that's the ein ponim limnois hatzivuy hazeh mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. Shehu lo yitzav alasis ma'aseh meyuchod, sheyeh mitzvah saseh v'lo yazeh me'asois ma'aseh meyuchod, sheyeh mitzvah lo yisaseh. Ka'amoroi, in Parshas Mishpatim it says, B'chol asher amarti aleichem tishmoru, u'ka'amoroi eskul koisei tishmoru. So, why is the Rambam saying that Balachta B'Drochav is counted as an independent mitzvah saseh? So, there's a tshuva from Rav Ron B'nai Shol Rambam that deals with both these questions. He was asked, Yilamdeinu Rabbeinu, B'mashe kosav b'mitzvah ches, shevalachta b'drochav hitzavo, v'nir shu t'nai. Koim re'uvo, alecha kol abroch yisrael v'yisigucha, hatnai, kisishma, b'koil, v'goymer. And then, v'afilo hoysa mitzvah harehi koileles kol ha'torah, k'mavur min ha'ksuvim, shenichpulu b'inyin zeh. וכבר אומר רבנו בשורש רביעי שאין למנוע הציוויים הכוללים. So Rabbi Avram ben Shlomo Rambam answers like this: Oimrecho shenira shehu t'nai lo yikosher. Sheharei lo hisna ela b'asiyas ma she'anu mitzuvim bo. True, it appears as a t'nai, but the t'nai that appears here is that you should do what you're mitzvah to do. So it's obvious that this is something that we're mitzvah to do, because it says. It's playing because if Shabbos Chila B'Hoyim Shemaya Tishma Kol Hashem Elokecha, and it says Asher Nechi Mitzavcha Hayoyim Hari Omar B'Feirush Shehisna B'Asiyas Ma Shetziva Boy V'achar Kach Hizkir Hakmul Al Zeh, and it says Yikimcha Hashem Ki Sishmor Es Mitzvahs Hashem Elokecha V'Alachta B'Drochav. So from the T'nai it's obvious that there is a mitzvah to be Hoylech B'Drochav. Harei Nizbar Shat'nai Lo Hoytzioi Mi Torah Sivuy. Okay, that's number one. So it's a tzivui koilel. Roy Liz Bunny, but if you stay Shuvas Lasog is Wachas v'ikid Godel b'Torah. That's his main answer. Boy nivdolim anachnu me'adas haraboni miderech hakaroim. V'hu she'inenu soimchim rak al ma shemoyer pshat hakosov, elo al ma shemoyer mol v'akosov v'kabola yachad. Anyway, he says that Chazal say that this is not a tzivui koil, but it's ma hu nikro chanun afato hayei chanun, ma hu nikro rachum afato hayei rachum. Therefore, it's not a tzivui koil. It doesn't include hanochas film and reishis hageiz. This is a very particular chiyuv. V'alachta b'drochav ma hu nikro rachum. So it's not a tzivui koil, and therefore it is counted. So, as far as the first question that he says that it's mashma from this pasuk that it is a mitzvah, even though it's a t'nai. But the question that I asked is still shver, because true. Let's say it's mashma from the pasuk that it's a t'nai because it's a mitzvah. But why did the Rambam bring this pasuk where it appears as a t'nai and not bring the psukim where it actually appears as a mitzvah? So the Rambam must have some reason that he put this into the V'alachta B'Drochav, which appears as a t'nai. And it's not shver, because the t'nai is that you should be mekayim the mitzvah that you were told elsewhere. But why doesn't the Rambam count the elsewhere instead of counting the here, which is really a t'nai? And the second question, as far as the answer to the second question that he says that it's a particular chiyuv for mahu chanun, it's nachal shver, because the Rambam in the same Shoresh Daled says that even at tzivui prati, if it's repeating something that we're already mitzvah, is not counted. Now, whatever is included in Mahu Nikra Rachum are things that are already included. What do I mean to say? The Gemara in Soitze that the Rambam brings says that the chiyuv lihidomois ulidovik b'midoisav is in very concrete practical terms. Mahu malbish arumim, afato halbish arumim. Mahu biker hacholim, afato baker cholim. Mahu menachem avelim, afato nachem avelim. Mahu kovar mesim, afato kovar mesim. Now all these things are included in the mitzvah v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. As the Rambam says in Hilchos Eivel, Reish Perek Yudalid, mitzvahs aseshul devreim, levaker cholim, lenachem avelim, lehoitzi hamesim, lehachnis hakabel, lelavas orach, lelasik b'chol tzorich hakfur, v'chen l'samech hachasam v'akala, l'sada, ve'ela hen gnulas chasadim shebeguf, v'shein lam shir, she'af al pishi kol mitzvahs elu midevreim, harei hen b'chlal v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Kol advarim she'ataroita she'yasu oisom l'cho, acherim, asei oisom la'achecha b'torah b'mitzvah. So, whatever is included in V'halachta b'drachav is already included in V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So l'chore, why is the Rambam bringing as a mitzvah b'fnei atzma b'halicha b'drachav shomokoi? The mahu nikra rachu mafato ha'yei rachu mahu nikra chan mafato ha'yei chan, if it's already included in the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So it would seem the Rambam's lashon in Hilchos Deis, Seif Perek Aleph, is like this. Haderech ha'yeshora, imido beinoinis shebechol deya v'deya. Deis meaning midos. That the derech ha'yeshora is the middle of the road. Haderech ha'yeshora yamido beinoinis shebechol deya v'deya. Mechol deya sheyesh lodem. V'hi hadeya sheyirechoyko mishnei aktzovos, richuk shove. It's equally far from both extremes. Ve'ena kroiva lo l'zoy v'lo l'zoy. U'mitzuvim onu l'leches b'drochim elu ha'beinoiniyim. V'hei madrochim ha'toivim. Shenemar v'halachta b'drochav. Kach lomdu b'pirush mitzvahs. Mahu nikra chanun, afato yechanun, v'chulei v'chulei. Now the Rambam says, the ketzad yargil atzmoi b'deyois elu achi yikavu boy. Thank you. Ketzad yargil atzmoi b'deyois elu achi yikavu boy. Yase v'yishne v'yishalish b'maisim she'oise al pi hadeyois ho'em zoyois v'yachzor b'hem tomit ad she'yiu ma'aseim kalim olav v'lo yeh b'hem toirach v'yikavu hadeyois b'nafshe. So what we see over here is that the mitzvah of V'halachta b'drachav is mechayiv, somebody that's already doing all the right things. He's being menachem avelim, he's being mevaker cholim, he's being machnis kala. He's oise the maisim al pi. He's doing the maisim she'oise al pi adeis Elohim tzoyos. But that's not enough, because there's a requirement of yikavu hadeis ha'ela b'nafshoy. The mitzvah of V'halachta b'drachav is that you should become kind, you should become giving, you should become compassionate. It's not enough that you do the acts of chanun, rachum, erech hapayim. It's not enough that you malbish arumim and you mavaker cholim, but you have to become that kind of person. And if that's unfortunately the Rambam says, "V'keitzad yargil atzmoi b'deyois elu achi yikavu boy." Now, Yaseh v'yishne v'yishalish b'maisim she'oise al pi hadeis ha'emtzoyos. You keep on doing those maisim that you do al pi hadeis ha'emtzoyos, even though you're not really there yet. V'yachzeh b'hem tomid. And when do you know that you will mekayim the mitzvah? Ad she'yu ma'aseim kalimol. There's no struggle anymore. It becomes natural. V'lo yeh b'hem torach. So the chiyuv of V'halachta b'drachav goes way beyond V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, because V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, like all other mitzvahs, is not a mitzvah that we should just be doing as a robot. V'ahavta, it's a mitzvah that we should be doing with our heart and mind and soul. But nevertheless, it could be that it's a struggle, because in mitzvahs we have a concept of lochuf es yitzroi odif. We have a musig of lefum tzara agra. So if somebody has an ongoing struggle in V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, as far as the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is concerned, he's a perfect mekayim of the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, in spite of the fact that it's difficult, right? Because lefum tzara agra and lokuf es yitzroi odif. However, the V'halachta b'drachav means mahu nikra chanun af ato heyei chanun, that you should become a chanun. You should become a rachum, and that's only when you reach a point where the maisim are kalim. And that's why this is an independent mitzvah. It's not included in the mitzvah of Ahavas L'Recha Kamocha. It's not a repetition of the mitzvah of Ahavas L'Recha Kamocha. It's a totally different mitzvah. And the nafkamina is very posh. When somebody, as far as the mitzvah of Ahavas L'Recha Kamocha, that's mechayiv bikur chayla. It's only if you're aware of the chayla that needs bikur. So the mitzvah of Ahavas L'Recha Kamocha is mechayiv. Yeah, when there are needs that need to be met, you have to meet those needs. Whereas when we're talking about the mitzvah of alachta b'drachav, it's b'chlal not mikoyach the needs of the needy. It's mikoyach developing your character, becoming a chanun, becoming a rachum. So you have to look for people. I mean, it's not like if there are no needy people around you, you have to look for people somewhere else. In other words, until you work it out. And be'emes hazeh shteit ach do in Rambam. And that's b'meshayach to the mahu nikra chanun, because the Rebbe Shalom created the needy. I mean, it wasn't like the needy pre-existed the supplying of the needs. I mean, the mahu nikra chanun, mahu nikra rachum is creating them. So the Rambam says yishna v'yishalish v'yachzebem tomid ashiyu maseim kalim. Now I ask you, when you got to the point of Maaseyim Kalim Olav, so you stop being Mavakar Choyla? You'll stop being Menachem Avela? Avadana. If there's going to be a Choyla, Lefanecho, you will be Mavakar the Choyla, mitzvah the mitzvah of Ahavas L'Recha Kamocha. But as far as the mitzvah of Alachta B'Drachov, yeah, so you already reached the point of being a Chanun and a Rachum, but just because you became a Chanun and a Rachum doesn't mean you don't have to do it anymore. The pshat is then you don't have to look. You don't have to look for people to exercise the midah of Chanun v'Rachum in order to develop that character. Yes, it's alles mefurish do in Rambam. The Rambam in Pirush HaMishnayos Kiyadu in Avos Perek Gimel Mishnah Tesvav, when the Mishnah says Hakol lefi roiv hamaseh, it doesn't say al pi hamaiseh, it says al pi roiv hamaiseh. The Rambam says Achar kach omer shehamaylos lo yuzgu lefi shiur goydel hamaiseh, that it's not, a person doesn't acquire a midah by doing something big, by doing something huge. Elo lefi roiv mispar hamaisa. V'zeh shehamaylos omnam yuzgu b'chfoil maisa hatoiv pa'omim rabbis, by repetitive doing. Ubazeh yusag hakinyan. That's how you acquire a midah. Loi b'shiyasa the maisa echot godel. ממייסה הטויב, שבזה לבד לא יושג הקניין. משל זה, שהאדם הם ייתן למי שרוי 1,000 דינר בפעם אחת, ולאיש אחד, לא יתושג לו מיילוס הנזיבוס. וזה המייסה אחד הגודל. כמי שתושג, כמו שתושג למי שיסנדב 1,000 פעמים ב1,000 דינר. In other words, he gives it in ones, and in singles, until he reaches 1,000 דינר. וייתן כל דינר מהם על צד הנזיבוס, לפי שזה יכפל על יודי מייסה הנזיבוס 1,000 פעמים, ויושג קניין חוזר. וזה פעם אחת בלבד הסערר הנפש הסערר is גדול לו למייסה הטוב, ואחר כך פוסקים ממנו. Yeah, so the things like this. Avad, if there's an audio fanecha that needs $1,000, and you're going to say, no, I'm working on my Divas and Divas, I'm giving you only $1 because I'm going to give another $1 to somebody else. Avad, that's not the kavanah. But the kavanah is that when you're looking for ways to acquire the midas hanedivos, you're looking for ways to acquire the midas hanedivos, so then you should know that roiv ha'maisa is what does it, and not the goydel ha'maisa, And lefi zeh be'emes v'oldes gekumen ha'groise chumra, that, we have a klal that you're not mevadel Talmud Torah for a mitzvah that's efshir lo yosses al yedei acherim. But that would only apply lefi zeh to somebody that already acquired the midah of Chanun v'Rachum and Erech HaPayim, because then the mechayiv is only the need of the needy. The mechayiv is only the need of the needy. That could be fulfilled by somebody else. It doesn't have to be fulfilled by me. But when I'm working on developing the midah, so nobody could do it for me. It's like outsourcing exercise. Yeah, it's one of those things you can't outsource. Yeah, so the pshat is you have to do it yourself, and that's bems mefurish in the Shulchan Aruch Harav in Siman Kuf Nun Vav, in Orach Chaim, in one line he says that Kemat Mefurish that Efshel Yosei the Cherem is not shaykh to Valachta B'Drochav, and that's l'chorah very poshut, because the Valachta B'Drochav is about Ma Hu Nikra Rachum Af Ata Hayei Rachum. So the thing is like this: the expectation that the Rebbeinu Shalom has of us, that Ma Hu Nikra Rachum Af Ata Hayei Rachum, Ma Hu Nikra Chanun Af Ata Hayei Chanun, is avada meyused on the fact that we were created b'tzelem Elokim, and we have those midas. It's just that sometimes we have to exercise in the asiyas of chesed in order to be megala that in ourselves, and memela the emes when we do for others, and we bring out this tzelem Elokim. The tzelem Elokim is really about not being a taker but being a giver. I mean, because what's the Bereshis Bar Elokim is all about giving, and memela, in as much as a person is locked into his own self-centered self, I mean, the pshat is his tzelem Elokim is asleep. I mean, his tzelem Elokim is not active, and the way to activate the tzelem Elokim is, like it says, before he davened, he gave a pruta to an oni, and he said, how do I see the face of Hashem? Through tzedakah. The pshat is because when a person gives from himself, he's megala in himself the tzelem Elokim, and he's capable of seeing b'tzedek echzeh konecha. Otherwise, he's delusional. So kirvas Elokim, which is what we want to come to during these days. The path to kirvas Elokim is the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, and the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim in the sense of Yasu Lefonai Kaseder Haseh, and that really is one and the same with tshuva, because tshuva means returning. It means undoing the changes that we made in our life and coming back to our original self, which is B'Tzelem Elokim Aseh Adam, which is that we are a Chanun and a Rachum. That there's a Hu in the Ata, and that we are a Chanun and a Rachum, and therefore the way to do tshuva, to come back to the essence of our real self. I mean, to tune into a different frequency, to live on a different level of consciousness, is only through giving, looking out. Unfortunately, a lot of times, in the Yemei Tshuva, people are very busy looking in. I mean, it's, maybe for good reasons. But sometimes looking in so much is counterproductive, because it even strengthens our self-centeredness. Like I mean, the Bali Musa would say that he walks around during the Yomim Nairoim with the sour face. I mean, so I don't know, maybe Rabbi Salanta said, I mean, is it his fault that you sinned? I mean, why are you putting it out? Why are you making him sad? So I'm saying that the point is that it's small changes. It's not like we could be make major changes at once, but it's first of all being conscious of the fact that looking out for others. What's this reads you, because we talk about Oyev Tzedakah is Mikeda. The Rebbeinu Shalom is Oyev Tzedakah is Mikeda. And what's Tzedakah? So the Chinuch says. The Chinuch says in the mitzvah of Tzedakah, it's a very beautiful lashon that you shouldn't miss. He says like this. He says. Ki a Torah tivcha la'olam b'gemilas chasadim. ותצווה ישראל להשלים לציין הנברואים בני בריס באשר תשיג יודענו. וכלל רואים שכל המהנס חברוי, בין במומן, בין במייכל, בין בשער צרוכו, אפילו בדבורים טובים, דבורים נחומים, בכלל מצוות צדוקים. Saying a nice word. It doesn't have to be cash. Smiling, saying something nice, and it doesn't have to be to a stranger. It could even be to your wife. I mean, the uschoroi harbe ma'oi, v'yikonsu dvorai bo'oznecha ki toivim heima, bo'oizen tivchan milim. So he says, so really, and you know, like the Rosh says in the beginning of Peah, there's a Gemara over there, Gemara Brachas, that's that with the Seder Yisrael. No, maybe somebody could, but those new Gemaras, I'm afraid they don't have the Seder Yisrael. From that shas it would be good, yeah. We have one over here. So the Rosh in the Pirush Rosh, in the beginning of Peah, that Noyam once showed me that the pshat is like this. The Rosh says, what's up the Rosh? On that mitzvah of Eilu Dvarim She'elam Shir. The Rosh says, Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu chofetz yoser b'mitzvahs sheyaseh bohem gam sheyaseh bohem gam ritzoyin abrius mi b'mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim. He says the Rebbe has a preference for mitzvahs sheyaseh bohem gam ritzoyin abrius mi b'mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim. In any case, it's not the chas v'sholom, the mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim, not very important, but the key to the mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim is really through the mitzvah sheben adam l'chaverei. Because the mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim, I mean, how does one really have a feel for mitzvah sheben adam l'koyim? I mean, to say a genuine, real feeling, not an illusional feeling. Because an illusional feeling, you know, sometimes there's the appeal of the irrational. People have more geschmack in things that don't make sense. That things that make sense, you know, feels mundane, feels secular. Things that don't make sense. Oh, that's kedusha, but that's not healthy. That's not right. Right. So the pshat is to make a real connection. To make a real connection during the Yemei Haracham and Slichos, and that we should be zoiche to move forward and to become better people. Yeah, to become gentler and better and kinder, that's really the avodah of the chazering, the Yud with the Sarachim over and over again. It's really, as I say, we're not yelling at the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're talking to ourselves and saying that the Rebbeinu Shalom is a kel racham v'chanun, and he created us in a way that we have those midas of racham v'chanun, erech hapayim v'rav chesed, and we just have to bring it out of ourselves. And maybe she's often that we should be zoiche to make a real connection, and as I say, making a real connection has to do with believing that we could make a real connection, and we could. Yo. If she can say this, yo.